There is a plant that can get you into trouble in several parts of the United States if you grow it without permission near water. Yet in another part of the world, it appears on the dinner table of millions of families every single day. It does not need an expensive greenhouse. It does not require special fertilizers. And it does not depend on the complicated systems that many garden stores try to sell you. With one healthy cutting, in a warm and humid environment, it can begin growing in just 24 hours. Within 1 week, that same cutting can multiply its green mass in a way that seems almost impossible for an ordinary vegetable. And this is where the story becomes strange. This plant contains iron, vitamin C, antioxidants, and compounds that researchers have studied for their possible effects on human health. In rural communities across Southeast Asia, it has been used for generations as a dietary support for people dealing with anemia or diets low in minerals. It also appears in studies related to diabetes, ulcers, and plant compounds connected with memory and cognitive decline. So the question becomes unavoidable. If it is so nutritious, so cheap, so fast, and so easy to grow, why is it treated as a threat in parts of the United States when it grows in certain places? The answer is not as simple as saying someone banned it for no reason. There is a real ecological concern, but there is also a much larger story about how a staple food for billions of people almost completely disappeared from the Western food conversation. The plant is called Ipomoea aquatica. In the Philippines, many people know it as Kangkong. In Malaysia and Indonesia, it is called Kangkung. In Vietnam, it is Rau Muống. In China, it has been cultivated for centuries under the name Kong Xin Cai, which can be understood as a hollow stem vegetable. That detail is not just a curiosity. Its hollow stem works like a tiny natural pipe, helping the plant move water through itself and continue growing at impressive speed in wet soil or areas close to water. Walk through a traditional market in Bangkok, Manila, Hanoi, or Guangzhou early in the morning, and you will see huge piles of this fresh green stacked on vendor tables. It is not presented as a rare ingredient or a modern health trend. It is an everyday vegetable, cheap, abundant, and deeply connected to family cooking. The tender tips are stir-fried with garlic, oil, and oyster sauce. The crunchy stems are lightly boiled and served with sesame. In some regions, it is added to soups, salads, fermented dishes, or simple daily stews. For many children in Southeast Asia, this is one of the first vegetables they recognize before they even understand its nutritional value. They see it in their grandmother's kitchen, in markets, at street food stalls, and in home-cooked meals. It is not luxury food. It is real food, survival food, neighborhood food. And yet, it has fed more people for a longer time than many of the Western vegetables that now dominate supermarket shelves. When you look at its nutritional profile, the story becomes even more surprising. This plant does not just grow quickly. It also concentrates nutrients that we usually associate with far more expensive foods. In nutritional databases, fresh water spinach appears with a meaningful amount of iron per 100 grams. And when the leaves are analyzed in dried or powdered form, the concentration can rise dramatically. Because removing much of the water leaves behind a much denser proportion of minerals, plant protein, and antioxidant compounds. The most striking comparison is with red meat. A common cut of beef usually provides a moderate amount of iron per 100 grams. This vegetable, in its fresh form, can compete with many important plant sources, and in dehydrated form, it can reach much higher concentrations. But there is one key detail almost no one mentions. Plant iron is not absorbed the same way as iron from meat. It is called non-heme iron, and the body needs help to use it more efficiently. That is where this plant becomes interesting again. Its leaves contain vitamin C, and vitamin C helps convert plant-based iron into a form the intestine can absorb more easily. That is why, In many traditional kitchens, without anyone needing to talk about nutritional chemistry, it is paired with lemon, lime, tomato, fresh chili, or other acidic ingredients. What looked like a simple flavor choice also turns out to be a smart health decision. In other words, we are not talking about a simple green leaf that fills a plate. We are talking about a cheap, fast-growing, resilient, and nutritious vegetable that can provide minerals, antioxidants, and fiber in a form accessible to families that cannot always afford meat, supplements, or fortified foods. But then comes the most uncomfortable part of this story. In the United States, water spinach is not always treated as food. In certain legal contexts, it is considered an invasive plant, especially when it is grown near ponds, rivers, canals, or open wetlands. The main reason has nothing to do with its nutritional value. It has to do with how it behaves in the ecosystem. When this plant escapes cultivation and enters natural waters, it can grow with enormous aggression. Its floating stems form dense mats across the surface. Those green layers block sunlight, make it harder for native aquatic plants to grow, slow the movement of water, and can create stagnant zones. In warm and humid climates, that growth becomes even harder to control. That is why some states have restricted it, prohibited it, or listed it as a problematic plant. And this is where the discussion becomes more delicate. The ecological concern is real. It would not be responsible to ignore it. A plant that feeds millions of people can also cause damage if it is released without control into a river or canal. But at the same time, restricting a plant does not erase its value as food. The problem is not a closed pot, a balcony, a kitchen, or a controlled container. The real risk appears when it is grown in contact with open water systems. That is why this story should not be reduced to a simple sentence like, "It is good," or "It is bad." Water spinach is nutritious, fast, and useful, but it also requires responsibility. The key is understanding where it can grow safely and where it can become a threat to the environment. The most surprising part is that modern science did not discover this plant from scratch. Instead, it began measuring with laboratories and publications, something that many communities already knew from experience. Different studies have described antioxidants, phenolic compounds, and biochemical properties in Ipomoea aquatica. Its use has also been documented in traditional practices connected with sleep, liver health, diabetes, and digestive problems. That does not mean one leaf can replace medical treatment, but it does show that this is not a worthless weed. For centuries, people observed it in a very practical way. If a vegetable grew quickly, could be harvested again and again, filled the stomach, and helped keep families strong when resources were limited, then it was worth preserving. Later, researchers arrived and found something that confirmed part of that intuition. The plant was not only abundant, it also contained active compounds worthy of scientific attention. But there is one number that completely changes the way you see it. In warm, humid, well-lit conditions, Kangkong can grow around 10 centimeters a day. For a leafy vegetable, that speed is almost absurd. Common spinach can take more than a month to reach harvest. Lettuce needs several weeks. Kale also requires time, space, and patience. But a healthy cutting of water spinach placed in a glass or moist soil can show visible signs of growth the very next day. That speed explains why it became so important in regions where food was not always guaranteed. This is not a plant that makes you wait for an entire season. It is a plant that responds in hours. You cut the top, leave the living stem behind, and soon new side shoots begin to appear. For a family with little money, that is not decorative gardening. That is food security. Now think about the problem on a larger scale. Iron deficiency is not a small detail. In many parts of the world, iron deficiency anemia affects young children, pregnant women, and women of reproductive age especially hard. When the body does not receive enough iron, the blood carries less oxygen, Constant fatigue appears. Concentration drops. The immune system weakens, and in severe cases, child development can be affected. That is why a plant like this matters so much. Not because it is magical, but because it is accessible. In the Philippines, it has long been called the vegetable of the poor, but that phrase should not be understood as an insult. On the contrary, it reveals its true power. It is a vegetable that does not need perfect soil, does not require expensive tools, and can grow back after every cut. For a family that cannot buy meat every day, iron supplements, or fortified products, a plant like this can make a real difference in the diet. What is impressive is that many of the people who depend on it, most, do not see it as a superfood. They do not sell it in luxury packaging or present it as a wellness trend. They simply grow it, cut it, cook it, and serve it. Meanwhile, in much of the Western world, millions of people do not even know its name. And that is the central paradox. A plant capable of growing quickly, providing minerals, pairing easily with vitamin C, and feeding entire communities was left out of the food imagination of many countries. It did not disappear because it was useless. It disappeared because its legal, ecological, and cultural story became too complicated to fit neatly on a normal supermarket shelf. If someone lives in an area where this plant is regulated, the first step is not to plant it blindly. The responsible thing is to check local rules, especially if there are ponds, rivers, canals, drains, or wetlands nearby. Water spinach can be an extraordinary food, but it should not be grown in a way that allows it to escape into natural systems. That difference is essential. The safest way to think about it is not as a free aquatic plant, but as a container vegetable. A closed container, a deep pot, or a growing box with moist soil can reduce the risk of spreading. Ideally, the container should be at least 20 centimeters deep and about 30 centimeters wide. The soil should stay moist, but not turn into stagnant water. It can be mixed with a little organic compost, although this plant usually does not need much to get started. The cuttings are placed about 5 to 10 centimeters deep, with at least 2 nodes below the surface. Those nodes are growth points. From them, roots and new shoots can emerge. After that, the plant needs warmth, humidity, and light. It usually grows strongest between 25 and 35 degrees Celsius. On a warm balcony, a sunny window, or a bright indoor spot, it can begin reacting very quickly. The most important rule is simple. Do not use open buckets of water near drains, and do not grow the plant where a storm could carry stems into canals or rivers. In a controlled container, the story changes completely. There, it is not a threat floating over a fragile ecosystem. It is a productive, manageable vegetable that can be ready to harvest in just a few weeks. When harvest time comes, the most common mistake is pulling out the whole plant. That is not necessary. The best method is to cut the upper shoots while leaving the root and part of the stem intact. Cutting about 15 to 20 centimeters is usually enough. The plant remains alive, and from the cut points, new side shoots begin to emerge. In that way, one plant can become several harvest points. You cut it once, it grows back. You cut it again, it produces more. In the kitchen, the classic method is also the simplest. A hot pan, a little oil, chopped garlic, and just a few seconds of cooking. The leaves soften quickly, but the stems keep a slight crunch. You can add soy sauce, oyster sauce, chili, tomato, or a splash of lemon at the end. That acidic touch does not only improve the flavor, it also helps the body use plant-based iron more effectively because vitamin C supports its absorption. And perhaps that is the most important lesson in this entire story. Sometimes the most valuable plants are not the ones sold in expensive packaging or advertised as modern discoveries. Sometimes they are the ones that have been growing for centuries in courtyards, canals, markets, and humble kitchens. Water spinach fed generations because it was fast, resilient, and generous. It did not promise luxury, it promised food. The question is not whether everyone should grow it without thinking. The question is whether we are capable of looking at a plant with more intelligence. We must understand its risk when it escapes into the natural environment, but also recognize its value when it is grown carefully. 2 billion people already know this vegetable. Science has also started paying attention. Maybe now it is time for more people to discover why one simple hollow stem plant can tell such a powerful story. If this topic opened a new door for you, leave a comment with the next forgotten plant you want us to investigate this deeply.